Notorious Star Wars news scooper Giancarlo Esposito says, Mando Season 3, filming soon. And we don't need Pedro Pascal. The hell with him. Welcome everybody to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John, thank you so much for joining us. It is Monday. Monday show, new show. Lot of news to actually talk about today. Very excited about this show. August 16th, so we are almost at back to school time for a bunch of you out there. So to get your mind off that aspect of things, we're still in summer. So we're here to enjoy this summer morning, afternoon, whatever, whenever you're listening or watching this. But either way, thanks for joining us. And James and Lacey are here with me as always. What's going on, gang? So yeah, Mando Season 3, the trend of Star Wars actors being the scoopers continues as Giancarlo Esposito says we're going to be filming soon, and we don't need to wait for Pedro Pascal is what he said. Find that pretty interesting. Not a major news story to get into because that's pretty much the extent of it. So I figured we'd start there at the top to warm the engines here of whatever new ship the Mandalorian's going to be flying in Season 3. How's it going, guys? What do you think about that? Mando filming soon, breaking the news. Moff Gideon himself.
Honestly, right off the top of my head, I wanted to say, you said it's almost back to school time. It absolutely is, because I had to go to the store before we recorded the podcast, and I was like, oh, I'll grab a notebook. And I was like walking down 30 aisles of books and folders, and there's like kids in there like grabbing them and stuff. And I'm like, oh,
I love it.
God.
You do?
I love back to school. I was like the biggest nerd growing up, and like back to school time was the best because it meant you got new clothes and new school supplies, and you got to plan out your binder and dividers and pens and all that stuff because that's the only time your parents really bought it for it. Well, mine did. My parents bought it for me is like right at the beginning of school, because then after that it's like, you know, it's kind of your responsibility to make sure you have what you need. Oh my God, I would get like the clear view ones that you could put stuff in that you'd be like, this is my binder, and like create collages and stuff. I was such a loser.
I did like the new clothes thing because I felt like everything was new. Like you had new shoes, new socks, new underwear, new pants, new shirt. And you like had like maybe, 5 things or something, like 5 outfits. So you're kind of like putting it all together or whatever, like how that first week was going to go.
You guys are nerds, man.
One of the coolest things I ever got was 7th grade. I got Britney Spears jeans, like the ones that had the belt part cut off, where it's like cut at the top. All the ladies know what I'm talking about. It's like you have your pants, and then the part where the belt goes, they cut it off, and it's like frayed.
Oh, low rise or whatever, right?
But it was like Britney Spears jeans. And so I was like so excited to have a pair. I was like, oh my God.
Were those jeans called Frey Britney?
No. But I really hope she does get freed if we're...
No, Frey, because the top of the jeans are probably frayed.
I know, but you're making a joke, but it's a very serious situation.
I think it was just Itney Spears, because they just cut off the top part of it.
See that? That's a good one. I was so pumped about it, though.
I was more like, and I was, I certainly, I had nerdy and stuff like that too, but I was more like into like, oh, I wonder what the girls are going to look like this year and that sort of thing. That was my focus.
It's always some bro comment. It's always a bro comment.
I wasn't a bro though. That's the thing. Girls, they weren't into me. Until college anyway. But anyway, that was me. I wasn't worried about my trapper keeper.
As for Giancarlo, I thought the funniest comment from him was about him wearing the helmet. He's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's his job to wear the helmet, though. Like, that's part of the whole bit. And I was like, you tell him, Giancarlo.
It was almost like he was being Moff Gideon a little, like, who cares about the Mandalorian?
Put the helmet back on.
Yeah. It's my show.
This is going to be a hot take, but I'm kind of...
I was going to say, it sounded like you were making this big thing.
Well, I'm just like...
Clears his throat first.
I was so excited for him in the second season, and... I don't know. I'm not super excited for him to be like the main villain in the third one. If that is the case, I don't mind him being in the show, but I hope that his third season appearance is more strongly contested, you know?
But what if he shows up in Itney jeans?
Then it would be pretty hot.
I don't know. You'd be like, yo, take them off, Gideon.
That'd be pretty hot.
Take them off, Gideon.
All right.
John's starting school. He's like, I'm just excited to see what the Gideons look like.
I'm just so excited to see what Gideons look like. Yeah. All right. We have a lot to get into today. A lot of stories. So let's get it going, James.
It's the Resistance.
All right, well, this week we have a lot going on with casting. I think that's going to be the theme of today's episode. And the first one is going to start with a report that was not actually about Star Wars, sort of, and it was kind of hard to track down when we first saw it. But THR put out this, story about push behind What If, and they were, talking about characters that have made the jump from animation to live action and other such like that. And then somewhere just really buried deep down in this story, they dropped this bomb, which is that the Ahsoka spinoff for Disney Plus is now looking for an actress to star opposite Dawson as Mandalorian warrior Sabine Wren. Like, I just throw that out there. It wasn't like every Star Wars site was like, that's the headline. That's a big thing. And THR just dropped it in with this Disney Plus What If, I don't want to say fluff piece. It was like their promotion for the new thing that was happening when it was coming out. So, but it's just an interesting thing. And got everybody talking about who should play the character and what does this mean for the series and, so many other things like that. I'm actually going to start with John on this one. What do you think, John, about this little bomb drop that THR did?
It's funny because we always look at it from the lens of the diehard Star Wars fan. And then if articles go around on not just like Star Wars Newsnet, which is where everyone should go for their Star Wars news anyway, especially as things start heating up. And we have some pretty interesting stories coming soon, by the way. I don't know if they're out yet or not, but stay tuned. But the one thing I find interesting about this is like probably like a good 90% of Star Wars fans probably don't know who Sabine is. So to THR, the person writing that article is probably like, I don't know, yeah, some Sabine. They're casting this character. I don't know. Meanwhile, Star Wars fans are like, it's happening, So I get you. We look at it from that lens, and for them, that's why it's on paragraph 5 after the third ad and that sort of thing. But Star Wars fans plucked it out and found it, which is a great part of the aspect of being a Star Wars fan online is that nothing gets past us. So this to me though. The fact that they say they're searching for an actress or whatever, I've been in the camp of rooting for the people who played the roles, and I think Tia Sircar could play Sabine. I have no issue with that. I know some people like try to make it a thing, but just like I want Taylor Gray to play Ezra, which is probably going to be unlikely too. But to me, the verbiage here that they're looking for someone to play it. If that's the case, then they're going outside of what has already existed, because you don't need to look for someone who already played the role. You have that person on in your phone already. You know what I'm saying? Like Dave Filoni could text Tia Sircar and be like, "Hey, we got this role for you," which probably would have already happened. So the fact that this report's coming out now that they're looking for the actress means she's probably not going to be playing Sabine, which to me sounds like where you can put a nail in the coffin in terms of animated actors playing their roles in live action, with the exception to the role being Katie Sackhoff as Bo-Katan. I think that's going to be the outlier and not the rule.
That's
which
the
is
Darth
a little bit
Maul of like, now that it exists, it's always a possibility.
Yeah, and you know what? It's like, it's a little upsetting because we talked to Taylor Gray and how much he clearly wanted to do it. I'm not saying it's official that he's not, but it sounds like it's probably not going to happen. It's just seems like that's going to be the way they go now. And I wonder, now that this exists, now that they've made the jump of existing animated characters making the jump to live action, I wonder if for future animated shows where there's now that window, like, yeah, you know what, this character could one day pop in live action, do they reverse cast in the sense where they go for someone who they know can play that role and almost like develop the look of the character in animation based on how the person looks as a human, so that they can make that transition and have the person play them in animated and live action, kind of like the Fennec Shan thing, and that sort of thing. So I think we may be seeing a change of the tide in how this happens now, where you may get someone casted in a role who can do voice acting, who can also play the role and do like kind of a double-barreled thing. So I'll be interesting to keep an eye on that, but it's going to be interesting going forward. But it sounds to me like, at least from my chair here, it doesn't look like Tia Sakar is going to be playing Sabine. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Mm-hmm. Lacey, your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think Tia Sakar is going to get this role if they're looking for someone to play the role. That to me seems like they have looked at a couple people, but they're continuing that search. It is interesting, like you said, James, that this is so buried in this article. It's such like it could have been its own article, you know, it could have been an exclusive type thing, but I guess the Hollywood Reporter didn't feel the need to have it be its own story, which is interesting nowadays with the clickbaity world we live in, that this wouldn't be its own thing. But the fact that they said sources are saying Lucasfilm is looking for an actress to star opposite, to me says that obviously they have multiple people that are saying this. However, it's still not official. So you always have to take these things with like, okay, they could be, they couldn't be. But because it's a Hollywood Reporter and they're pretty reliable as a source, I think it's interesting that we're finding out this way. Once again, I don't think that it's a surprise necessarily. I think it's one of those like John says book it or whatever characters that obviously she would show up. I think a lot of people thought she was going to show up in The Mandalorian season 2 and she didn't. I know a lot of people thought that Casca Reeves was Sabine Wren originally. Remember with the whole robe thing? And everyone was like, it's gotta be Sabine.
A lot of people.
Sorry, a lot of people on the internet. How about that?
Yeah.
A lot of people on the internet were speculating that it could be Sabine, but it wasn't. So
that was
again,
Lacey, that was because Sasha Banks had the purple hair, right? That was the whole thing.
Yeah, she kind of looks like her, and she had colored hair. And
similar skin tone, size, obviously able to get action-oriented if they needed to. And then she's famously known for having purple hair. Just a lot of things kind of lined up with that. Yeah.
Which, again, I mean, she could have been, but she wasn't. I think they picked wisely who they were going to have be part of Mandalorian season 2. I'm interested to see who they're going to eventually cast, but to me this isn't surprising. I think it pushes more towards the Ezra Thrawn storyline if she's taking part in this. So that's really exciting, and I'm sure James is going to touch on that about how his blue boy could show up in this series.
I mean, but okay, so yeah, I'll take it from there. But that's the thing is the more we're hearing about the rumors, it definitely seems like that's the story they're going with. They're going to pick up where Rebels left off. Because we've heard about Thrawn being cast, we've heard about Ezra being cast, or that they're looking at Sabine. And I don't know if this is one of those things where it's like self-fulfilling prophecy, like somebody heard Ezra, but then they were like, okay, well, I'll kind of believe that. And then when the rumor of Thrawn lines up, it's not taken with its own speculation. It's more along the lines of like, well, we did hear the thing about Ezra, so the Thrawn thing starts to make sense. Then you hear something, you hear another character might be cast, and you're like, oh, all of it's coming together. And it's like the first thing was wrong. You know what I mean? The first story was wrong.
It makes you think of SpongeBob, where he's like, the gang's all here, and he's drawing the smiley face.
So yeah, and I was, when the news hit or whatever, I got on Reddit and I saw that it was posted or whatever, and there was a comment or a new post that was like, now that she's confirmed showing up in this show or whatever, and I popped in, I said not confirmed, and I said a reliable source has stated that they're looking for actors to play the character, and I got some comments that were like, what's the difference? Like usually these trades are correct anyway, and I was like, well.
They could cut the character. That could be a thing.
Yeah, this is not Disney saying we've cast this character. It's somebody in an unrelated article throwing out a line, which means they maybe not even, I mean, that could be an edit. It's not like exclusive post that like you take down the post. That's a bigger deal. But like you could even remove that line if you don't feel comfortable about it.
Sure.
And it's like, all that being said, it's like they're looking at this in probably the same way that they're probably looking at a couple different storylines or elements or characters that they could bring in, and that's one of them. So they're kind of toying with that idea. All that being said, this seems like the most likely thing that they're going to do. Pick up right after Rebels. And on the Tia Sakar thing, I'm with you guys. I could see it being played by that person, but I don't think it's going to happen, and that's not what I want to happen necessarily. I am open to the idea of, somebody else playing Ezra, somebody else playing Thrawn, somebody else playing. Oh, that's another one, John, though. Thrawn.
Lars Mikkelsen, if that's
will
true.
be playing the character if that rumor is true. So that's another thing. But yeah, I'm totally down just the same way as Ashley Eckstein said she was glad to have Rosario Dawson become part of the Ahsoka family. That to me is totally fine with having new people become a new iteration of Ezra, a new iteration of Sabine. And, when you go to Celebration or something like that, you can get it signed by both, and that doubles its value. It's all that. It's just, it's cool. I don't mind that. And I imagine that those characters, that people they hire are going to do really good at what they do to bring that character to life. Probably, dare I say, even better, even more so than, because they're making these decisions based on what they think is best for the property that they're making. So I don't know.
Right.
Interesting. Very excited about the Ahsoka show, by the way. The next story though is Taika. It's all about Taika, right? He was, I don't know, John might have more to this story actually, because he threw me for a loop when he posted something before we started. But Taika has said now that his next thing that he's working on is the Star Wars thing, and he was questioned about, does it fit in with his style, and how are you gonna do a Star Wars property which tends to be more like this as far as tone, and then your typical stuff. And he had some good answers about that, meaning like, I kind of sneak attack and get in with the heavy hitting stuff when you least expect it. That's kind of my style. So he thinks he'll fit in very well with Star Wars because it is truly him, and he feels like there's nothing truer than that. So Lacey, I'm going to start with you on this one. Taika Waititi is getting ready to start on that Star Wars movie. Your thoughts?
I am so excited, which no one is surprised by this. This is not surprising at all. I loved Ragnarok. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, Marvel movie. It's just the tone of it, everything about it is perfect to me. So when this story came out, I did tweet like, "Oh, I love it. I love it."
No, I know. The
oh,
joke
but
is,
you're doing the.
Is it though?
He ad-libbed that. He didn't even write that. He ad-libbed it. But yeah, so when we tweeted, Star Wars Newsnet tweeted this, I just retweeted it with like, sounds perfect to me. When he said that he's really excited because it feels very him, very me, is what he said. Mm-hmm. And I was like, great. That's what I'm expecting. That's what I want. That's the exact tone. I want you. I want your quirkiness, your personality. And he really knows how to tell a great story. And that's what I want. And I think that's what all of us want as Star Wars fans, is take the time you need, do what you want to do, take risks. As long as the story is good, I'm on board. And I hope that's what most of us, at least we feel that way. The one thing that did stick out to me was that he said that he, quote, "I tend to go down that little sincerity alleyway in my films. I like to fool the viewer into thinking, ha, it's this." Yeah. And then have them going, "Damn it, you made me feel something." I love that. That is like the perfect explanation of how I like watching things, from not just Star Wars movies, but definitely with The Mandalorian. Is like, there would be moments where I'm like, oh, I know where this is going. And then it takes a complete different turn. You're like, oh okay. No, I'm still guessing. And so I can't wait to see what he does with Star Wars and where he takes it. Because ultimately, he's going to bring something to the galaxy that we've never seen before. And that's what I've always wanted from day one when Lucasfilm sold to Disney, is like, show me something different.
Yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention is that he did state that we've got the story. So he does have it in his head. He knows exactly where he's going with that. And John, the
exterior
thing that,
space stage.
Yeah. It's still an exterior space stage. But the thing that you said that threw me off, and I didn't know if it was a joke or not, I just kind of like read it really quickly, was you said something about he couldn't get the Flash Gordon off, and that's why he moved to Star Wars? Because that was recently announced that it was going to be an animated thing, and then he was moving to live action. Was that a joke, or did I miss an element of the story?
Are you talking about? We're going to talk about we're going to have a deeper discussion on this Thursday, I think. But this was, yes. So in a sense, Star Wars started with George Lucas wanting to do a Flash Gordon movie. So that's kind of like where this comes a little bit of full circle. But in terms of Taika, I think he is going to bring something fresh. I do agree with Lacey, but I also think he's gonna kind of round it out and give us something that we haven't gotten in a while from Star Wars, which is the certain campiness and charm that A New Hope gave us.
I love weird Star Wars. Give me all the weird Star Wars.
Yeah, like and and Miguel, who's been writing so many of our articles for Star Wars Newsnet, so shout out to him.
Killing it.
He's doing a great job, buddy. I added a quote into the article that I took away from the gallery, from the season 1 of Gallery, where Taika was asked like what he thinks Star Wars is, and he said, it doesn't take itself too seriously, but it does believe in itself. And I think that's like perfection. And we're going to get into it more on Thursday, because we're going to have, spoiler alert, we're going to have a more deeper discussion about Taika Waititi and
I realized where I misread the thing, by the way. Yeah.
So he I was trying to like divert, but yeah, we're gonna have a more lengthy discussion about Taika on Thursday. But in terms of this, like, he seems to get it, and I'm very excited. I do like the fact that he says they have the story. Having Christy Wilson Carnes, who co-wrote 1917, is writing this with him. And I do like everything that he has done so far, and I think his personality is, I don't want to say Teflon, but it's hard to dislike him. So it's going to be very interesting to see like how the fans react to a Taika Waititi Star Wars movie. If it's still like, I didn't really like it, but I just like him so much that I can't say anything bad about it. You know what I'm saying?
How about
like
when they announced him, he was just like, "Can't wait to ruin your favorite franchise."
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Yeah. So the fact that he's that way about it, almost like it's like when you Eminem like diffuses the guys at the end of 8 Mile where they have nothing left to say because he already said it. It's like kind of like that thing. But it's very cool that he's writing it right now. Someone is writing a Star Wars movie right now, in addition to the fact that we have the Rogue Squadron that's going into production soon. But I think that is amazing that Taika Waititi is writing a Star Wars movie as we speak on his like probably old school typewriter at his house. So
no,
I'm just
MacBook
very
Pro.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Because he had all the statements about the MacBook Pro.
Yeah, and the whole it feels very me thing, but and we wanted to add that in the headline because I felt it was important. But at the same time, he does say, it does feel like me, but he also understands that it is Star Wars and he wants to capture that aesthetic and sort of thing. But what I do like, what like Lacey brought up, him saying about he goes down the sincerity alleyways and stuff. It's almost like it is a trick in how, like, when you trick your kid to eat their vegetables sort of thing, and you like hide it inside the peanut butter and jelly. You're like, that's a made up thing. No one does that. But in other words, how you trick your kids to eat their vegetables is kind of like Taika getting people in their seats to watch the zany, crazy, funny guy make his movie, and then you don't realize that he hits you right in the heart.
You mean like nuggets that are made of vegetables now?
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
It's a better example than vegetables in your peanut butter jelly.
You trick your kids to eat their vegetables. Everyone who has kids know that that's something that you do. But my point is, he tricks you into his stereotype is like he's this crazy guy, he's so outlandish, he's so out there, Thor and Ragnarok, it's wild, but he can really tell heartfelt story, and he understands characters and that sort of thing. If you saw like Jojo Rabbit,
The Valkyrie in Ragnarok is a very touching story when she gets into the nitty gritty of who she is. Yeah,
he knows how to walk that line. And I don't want to get too much more into it until our discussion on Thursday, but it's just very exciting to hear that it's a go, because every once in a while with Star Wars we do get a little nervous about those announcements, and Rian Johnson still he's not writing his Star Wars movies yet, but here we are. Taika is writing his. It's in pre-production because it's being created, and that is a good feeling.
Yeah. I don't really know that I have a whole lot to add to this, because like I said, we're doing a whole thing on Taika on Thursday, but it is exciting to know that he is officially working on it. It is exciting to know that it is the next thing to happen. And a couple things that you guys touched on was the response of him saying, "I can't wait to ruin your favorite franchise." And it makes me think, who is a director or someone in that position who would be totally resilient against a massive backlash of a film?
I feel like he thrives in that. Like, he wants people to be mad at him. He's like,
probably,
okay.
I mean, off the top of my head, I think he's probably the number one director or person, celebrity that I would think would be least affected by that type of thing.
Right.
So I don't know. It really makes me kind of remember when Rian Johnson didn't seem to be affected by The Last Jedi stuff. No matter how bad it got, he was always like, well, that's just like your opinion, man, like, or whatever he did.
Rian Johnson? Are you sure you got the right guy?
Yeah, absolutely. Or what?
He went to bat a little bit more. It wasn't like more of like like Taika does, like more of like a shrug off, like the Luke Skywalker brush off.
Yeah, but I'm saying he wasn't emotionally affected or hurt by the fans that didn't like his movie, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't really know. I know JJ.
Do you guys not think that? I think he didn't even. He was like, I made the best Star Wars.
He got into Twitter battles with some people.
I think it's hard for any human being to take something that they've worked and put their soul into.
I wouldn't be able to. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it.
And not have any type of emotional reaction to that, and or snark at times. Like, I defend his snark, but I'm saying there were moments of snarkiness and stuff that came out because I think he did stand by what he did, which is totally fine. But I mean, we talked about this on a Patreon thing last week with one of our Spice Runners, Neil. But the Director and Jedi documentary is a great example of the movie process. If you haven't watched it, definitely go back and watch it. But what Ryan goes through as well. Like, I always talk about what Mark Hamill goes through because I'm a little biased because I love Mark Hamill. But
yeah, there's two names in that title.
Yeah, Rian Johnson goes through a lot during that movie, that you see the progression of like, oh my gosh, I'm taking this on. Oh my God, can I handle this? Oh my gosh, this is so much pressure. I care so much about this. And then to know what happens next, it is a little bit heartbreaking. So, James, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I think that there was a little bit of emotional reaction at times, rightfully so, because you're defending what you care about.
Sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You guys take that stance on that, because like I understand they handled it different, like him versus Taika and how I think they would handle it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But my thought is that like he's on this side, on the same side as Taika, as far as like,
I agree, to
being
an extent,
unaffected by fandom. I feel like J.J. Abrams was more affected negatively.
Sure, and he was always explaining things. Chris Terrio too. I think they're on a spectrum.
I couldn't disagree more.
I think JJ was constantly explaining things and saying that he understood how fans felt and stuff and responding to things.
I think JJ was so happy with Force Awakens that when Rise of Skywalker came around, he kind of had the George Lucas aspect of like bummed that like
we
people
could have
didn't
done this. Yeah, I want to go. I could have gone back and changed some things, like that kind of stuff.
I didn't get that from JJ. Like he was asked about the red carpet. He's like, what do you think about fans who say you should have done this or should have done that? He goes, they're right. He's like, everyone's entitled to their opinion, whatever.
No, that's what I'm saying is I think maybe
he didn't call people like man babies.
Perhaps
or like
confidence.
Poke the bear.
Perhaps confidence is the right term. Like Ryan was very confident with this movie, and he didn't feel that he made any bad mistakes or that he would do things differently. Whereas I think
That's
I
so
got that from JJ because he was trying to appease fans and reaction and stuff.
I think JJ's been more open. Great point, James, that he was like you said, John, like he was like, yeah, fans are right. They're not wrong. And he's given talks about how he's like, yeah, there are things I probably would have done differently. And I would have, whereas Ryan has never said he'd do anything differently. He's very like, this is my movie. This is what I made. This is what I stand by. And I think that's what I'm coming from, at least, is like JJ's more open to the interpretation and or understanding that things could have been different and or he might have made the wrong choices. Whereas Ryan was very like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Which is both equally fair and right in their own situations.
Well, speaking of Andor,
well done.
we have another rumor, actually, and just the same way as we were talking about the live action Sabine Wren, it's not official. We did get a report from a trade, and this actually was the article, was the headline, that Alex Lawther is joining the cast of Andor. I don't want to say young. He's like 25, mid 20s. But he will be joining this cast, according to the direct. I don't know. There's not a whole lot here. He's been in a couple different things, including Black Mirror, and he's getting ready to be in the Adam Driver, Matt Damon movie, The Last Duel, which is coming out. Obviously, he's surrounded himself in good talent, and I watched something of his today that was kind of his best moments. A digital reel of his movies and things, and I thought, hey, this feels right. He looks like he would be really good at what he's doing. He screams rebellion to me, like a rebel character or something. But I'm going to start back with John. What do you think on this person joining the cast of Andor?
I'd be lying if I said I knew who this guy was. So
no, yeah,
I Googled him like 5 minutes before we started podcasting. But yeah, 26-year-old British guy, white. That leans me to Imperial, but he won't be. I could see this guy being like kind of a guy who like knows Ben Kenobi but doesn't know he's a Jedi sort of thing, and then he sees Obi-Wan light up a lightsaber and he's like, "Oh my god!" Like
this
one of those
is Andor,
types of people.
Yeah. This is Andor.
Oh, this is Andor? See, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
It is funny. I did the exact same thing, John.
I was
like
Kenobi.
Looking at him, I was like, he kind of looks young in the face, even though he's 20. Could they put like a digital Luke on him or something? And I was like, this is the wrong show.
No, yeah.
You
I
want
don't
to
have any other
redo
stuff.
that, John?
Yeah.
No, I don't really
There's
care.
a bold prediction.
Like I said,
Obi-Wan showing up in Andor.
I'm just joking. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, like I said, I Googled this guy a few minutes before. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know who he is. But yeah, cast in Andor. It's a rumor. Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I don't think any of us have any experience with this actor. Like, I did not see him in this movie, loved the movie, thought he did really well in that.
I put this in the main news stories because I figured he was someone of notoriety that I just hadn't heard of, and I looked at his filmography and I haven't seen literally anything he was in.
Have you seen the trailer for Last Duel? Because that is intense. So whoever he's playing in that movie, it is a lot of intense medieval haircuts.
It is.
Angry Adam Driver per usual. Like
maybe he's playing Krennic's nephew or something.
I honestly think he's going to be a young character in the rebellion that's going to do something stupid that's going to drive the story forward. You know what I mean? Like that one kid that wants to prove himself, that makes a mistake, that then drives the conflict to the point that they're like, we're going to lose. And then
watch. It's like one of those scoops where it's like he's just some guy who plays like a guy who just goes, right over here, sir.
Here's your pen, sir.
Totally. Like his casting agent or whatever is like, hey, he's going to be in this. And like, he's like, I really hope
my scene gets left in the show where I say like, oh, let me hold that door for you,
My
sir.
impression based on the stuff that I saw in his demo reel was that he would be more of a main character. So
well, that's why I think he just has a look to me, and I'm not a casting director, but he has a look like he's going to try to be a part of the gang. And then, but ultimately he's going to, you know what I mean? Like that character that messes up and they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm just trying to help.
He seems like Mouse in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
He's part of the team, but he's the youngest on the team, and you
Little
never really
naive.
know. Like he earned his way there, but he's still the Linus, if you will. But anyway,
I'm
yeah. If
just
we don't
really
have,
excited to see him in Kenobi. That's all I have to say.
if we don't have
Speaking
anything
of
else to say,
Kenobi.
we can move on to the next story. John wants to see him in Kenobi. But then I guess speaking of Kenobi, right?
Yeah,
we already
yeah.
know that Indira Varma is on the show, and she was doing an interview recently where she said that Ewan McGregor and Deborah Chow have been doing a great job at making this beast of a film feel like an independent, because everybody on set is very collaborative and very open, and it's a freeing experience, more so than she would have expected a giant property like Star Wars, especially when she also stated that she doesn't know a whole lot about it, including she's seen the old ones, but doesn't even really know like how they're supposed to be in order or something along those lines. The Star Wars News
a
Net
bold
article
move,
does a good
Cotton.
job at
Let's
pointing
see.
out.
Let's see how it pays off for her.
Yeah. The Star Wars News Net article does a good job at pointing out that, there have been many creatives in the Star Wars world and talent as well that don't know a lot about Star Wars, and they tend to be fan favorites and do a really good job. So, I think we can rule that out there. But
Right.
it is interesting to hear her side of the story and how that production is coming along. Lacey, I'm going to go bounce back at you
I
on
actually
this one.
want to let John start since he's so eager to talk about Obi-Wan. Might as well
Yeah.
let him pick up there.
Honestly, I think Indira is gonna play Andor's love interest, and I think they're gonna start off kind of. Oh, she's in
Are you-
Kenobi.
Wait,
Okay.
are you talking? Wait, what?
That makes
Oh,
sense.
Never mind. I got distracted. I was
Alright,
thinking
I'm
about
kidding.
the other girl that got cast in Andor, and I was like, "That's my idea." But then
Adria
it
Arjona?
makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, obviously, I love her in Game of Thrones. Thought she was fantastic. I'm sure she didn't know anything about Game of Thrones before she was in that.
Sure.
I think it's overrated where someone needs to know about Star Wars or anything to be in something. Mark Hamill didn't know anything about Star Wars when he took the gig, so because it didn't exist. No, but tough crowd today. Tough crowd. No, this is fine. I think this is great. The fact that you have this actor like openly saying like, yeah, I don't know much about Star Wars, because that's kind of, I hate the lie. I hate the, oh, yes, I've been a big fan. Like whenever someone's interviewed about, if someone's cast as Superman or if they're cast as Batman, like, have you always loved Batman? Like, yes, I've always loved Batman. And like reads their hand on what their publicist tells them to say. Like, Adam West was so good as the first Batman. And it's just like, I'd rather someone be like, yeah, honestly, I wasn't really a big Star Wars fan, but I'm a good actor, so I'm going to do a good job. I don't think it's important. I don't think it's necessary. So I think sometimes people put a little too much stock in it. It's nice when they are, like when a John Boyega is a legitimate Star Wars fan. You're like, that's cool, man. That is so cool that he gets to be in Star Wars. He maybe like can explain things to other castmates about what that stormtrooper does or what that is, but it's not necessary. And she's from some of the photos, looks like she may be on the evil side of things. You don't need to know about the Force and stuff like that if you're an Imperial, right? So even that adds credence to her lack of knowledge as being okay. This is fine. The more interesting part here is that they are looks like they're doing a more character-driven, narrative-driven type of story, which we all kind of expected. I hope it's nothing too dark. I still want that fun space adventure and see Ewan do his thing. But the fact that she's praising Deborah Chow and Ewan McGregor sounds like it's a very collaborative environment. And Ewan probably has a lot of input, being that he's played this role for so long. It's just little nuggets like this make me more excited about the show when it comes out. So do you need to know about Star Wars to be in it? Absolutely not. I actually find this very refreshing that she has zero problem saying that. And if people are going to be like, oh, look at them casting someone who doesn't know about Star Wars, you sound like an ass.
Mm-hmm. Lacey, what are your thoughts on
Well, I should probably state that I was joking when I said that.
What'd you say?
I said that I was joking that she didn't know about Star Wars. How dare
bold
she say
move.
that?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I think the first thing is when I read her comment about it being a beast like an octopus, all I thought about was the Goonies and that octopus scene that gets cut from the movie. And I was like, well, I hope it's not like that because it didn't even make it into the movie. But I really kind of felt bad for her in her quotes because she talks about how everything's new and a little embarrassing and she keeps getting called out on stuff. And what John just said made me feel a little bad because I was like, oh, she's probably on set and she's like, huh? And I could just picture Ewan McGregor being like, how do you not know my character doesn't? You know, you gotta feel bad. Not like, obviously he's not mean or anything, but it's like, you just feel like, oh, should I get into this? Because it happens to all of us as Star Wars fans. I mean, I'm kind of going through that with the High Republic where people are like, how do you not know this? And I'm like, I should know it, but I don't. I'm sorry. So I feel a little bit bad, but I think she's excited and I'm pumped that she's saying the production is a beast. Because to me, that's not just the story and the acting, but the overall production is probably crazy too. Like the sets and using the volume and just the overall experience to her is just bigger than life, which is what we expect from Star Wars. So that's pretty cool. From her pictures on set that we saw that kind of leaked, she is in the kind of Empire garb, but she could be undercover. We don't know because
that's a good point.
Rose
that's
and
true.
Finn went undercover, so.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens, but every day is a good day when you hear Obi-Wan Kenobi updates.
I don't know. There's two angles to the she doesn't know that much about Star Wars because
sure.
I think fans really did dig it when even Ron Howard was like, and then, gives Sam Witwer the lightsaber or whatever, tells him like he's going to ignite his lightsaber. And he's like, no, which lightsaber are we talking here? And he goes into all the details and all that. That stuff excites fans. But I think the reason that is because fans like to live vicariously through the actor's story. They were like, if I were on set, I would be the knowledge base and I would know everything about this type of stuff. And when it comes to actually pulling off what they need to do you need to know Star Wars in order to hold this lightsaber the right way? You don't, because there's going to be somebody on set that is going, you're not holding that the correct way. And then they go, oh, how am I supposed to hold it? Okay. And then
that person is Ewan McGregor.
No, I think you said Ewan McGregor, but I think she's being teased continually by the makeup people and the prop people because they're like, they hand her like, something and they're like, here you go. And they just like expect somebody to know what that is. And she's like, what is this? And then they're like, how do you not know what that is? And it's just like a common thing because we talked about this a couple weeks ago that it seems like everybody who's working on this show grew up with Star Wars.
Is a fan, yeah.
Is a fan. And it's very rare that someone on that show who's working with these actors who get to be in the movies, that they hand them that prop and they like don't do it right or something, or they push the wrong button, or they go beep beep beep, or set phaser to stun or something, like not that's a line in the show, but like just a joke, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're killing us over here with how much you don't know. And
Laura
and
Dern
it's
saying
fine.
pew while she's shooting.
Yeah, because once the camera's on, you're that character, and that's fine, and we're gonna make sure that it comes off the right way. But yeah, I understand it. And I understood it more to be like just a teasing thing.
Yeah. How do you not know this?
Yeah. I am interested in the high production level of these shows and how it's being treated like an independent movie and how much that actually is information that we should care about, information that maybe only the actors, the people on the set care about. Because if you remember, maybe another example, Oscar Isaac said that Rise of Skywalker felt like an indie movie. It was like,
I don't
did
remember
that really come across in the final production? No. Because maybe there were some lines in there that were a little more ad-libbed, a little more open to interpretation, and JJ was willing to flow with a couple of those things because I'm not in, before it was I'm in control, you're the new guy, you're playing Poe Dameron, I have this vision, but he's been Poe, twice now, and JJ's only directed one movie, so it's like it was just collaborative by the time they got to that third movie, and he said it felt like an indie film, and it's like, oh, that's weird. My question to you guys then is, does that statement actually mean anything for the final production, or do you think that's just like a behind the scenes, like, it's cool, I'm having a good time? Like, catering's great. Like, that doesn't help anything.
With indie movies, it just kind of means that it's not top heavy, and there's not this like weight like hanging over you, or like you feel like the studio's like tapping you on the shoulder, asking what's going on. Everyone kind of they can put their input in there. Maybe they have she has a little freedom on what she wants to do with her character. Improvisation is certainly a big thing with indie movies, where sometimes you can bend the script a little bit if you're dealing with a writer who's more of the artistic flair. So a lot of those things could be certainly a part of it. And if the fact that she's saying this about, a mega massive Disney production lends credence to a lot of things. One, Kathleen Kennedy believing in Deborah Chow as a director. Obviously, you had multiple writers on this series that took over for someone else. It went from a movie script, they stretched it out into a series, broke it down, handed it over to one writer. Then Joby Harold comes in. He's the latest writer. So there's probably a lot of flexibility there and a lot of trust into what's going on here. And I think the trust has to lie on Deborah Chow as the director, because she's directing this whole thing. So to hear her say that about this, to me, speaks the most about what they think about Deborah Chow as someone who can capture something and create a project. That's my take on it.
Yeah, that's good.
I agree.
Yeah. I like that take. I
Stop the press.
Yeah, there were so many interpretations.
We're talking about Andor, right? We're talking about Andor.
Up for not knowing what you were talking about earlier.
There were so many interpretations
about the Lando series
from my point of view, where I was thinking, oh, it's great being on a major label, from like a band perspective, but it still feels like we're on an independent label or whatever. And I don't know. I'd never really understood some of those motives and how fans would want to hear that, because I never really, connected with the idea that a label was actually like pushing an agenda on an album. I was like, we were on a major and we weren't ever like pushed to do any sort of thing, or I don't know. So it made me kind of think, differently about that type of statement, but you put it really well, John. A couple other things that are happening in the Star Wars world, just to run through them really quick, is that we did get an announcement for the Essential Legends collection. While we're waiting for the second one to come out, they did announce some of the third wave books. And as noted on the Star Wars Newsnet article, it's kind of interesting how they're picking and choosing these stories with like Plagueis and Kenobi and the X-Wing Wedge's Gamble, and how they are somewhat sort of loosely connected on the properties that you should be expecting in live action coming up here soon, with Kenobi being an obvious one, and then the Rogue Squadron. I always forget. Rogue Squadron, right?
Yeah, the X-Wing series, yeah.
Yeah. And the movie that's coming up. So if you guys are interested in new covers and a new push towards some of the Legend material, you can check out the third wave of Legends book being re-released. And then speaking of things being released, Hunters is not getting released. Star Wars Huntered was delayed till 2022. Now, I tried to look up some stuff on this game. We actually really don't know much other than a quick little trailer that was released, but it's supposed to be a Nintendo game, probably Switch-based, and it is supposed to be like a third-person shooter game that is set after the events of the original trilogy. Kind of exciting, but it is, I think we talked about this when it was announced, it is being produced by Zynga, which is that company that is very much based on microtransactions and pay-to-play mobile
games.
Aren't
they Word with Friends and Farmville and stuff?
Yeah, they like, I want to say they have a good reputation for some people because the games are fun and addictive, but then there's a whole other set of gamers that are like, I hate that stuff,
I thought that was the game where you have to pull the block out and hope the thing doesn't fall down.
That's Jenga.
Oh, Jenga.
Yeah. Well, actually, one other thing that wasn't here too is a very loose and untalked about release of the Guardians of the Will manga that dropped last week.
You're right.
Almost nobody was talking about it.
Greg Rucka, right? He wrote it?
What was that?
I think Greg Rucka wrote it. comic writer?
That I don't know. But I remember this got announced and I was excited. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That'd be a really cool read. And we actually just talked about the fact that, Chirrut and Baze might show up again in live action.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it was like right around the corner that this was going to get released and no one was talking about it. And I even went on Wikipedia and looked up the canon media timeline and it's not on there. I'm like, this is getting buried really crazy, but I don't know.
It is Greg Rucka, by the way.
Oh, cool. Yeah. It is out there. It was a fun story when I read like the actual book of it. Now it's in a manga form, like a comic. If you want to check it out, I'm sure you could just buy it on Amazon or something like that. So go check that out. That was a lot of news, guys. Now we're getting ready to head into our next section, which is, of course, Lacey. What's it called?
Mm-hmm. Really quick, just for people that are listening that are like, okay, Lacey,
Hold
who's Greg
on.
Rucka? Greg Rucka is one of the big Batman writers, Batman comic, DC guys. So a lot of the popular comics that people have liked and runs with, I'm forgetting his name. I believe it's Snyder as well as, not Zack Snyder, but it's someone as well. Oh God, I'm blanking. But they do the Batman series. So a lot of people like those. So go check those out. So I'm assuming that this will also be good. That's why I brought it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for the Patreon pod race. So there are lots of ways you can support us. You can like this video, comment, subscribe, follow us on all the audio apps, including Spotify, which is really cool because you can actually share when you're listening with us to Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And
Very true.
it's really cool. Just make sure to tag us on Twitter at RBATSWNN or on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. But if you want more than that, including exclusive content, live streams, Discord access, mailings, and much more, you can head over to patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. Starting at $2 a month, you can support the show and what we're doing here and what we plan to do this year and beyond. And just supporting our hopes and dreams of talking about Star Wars, basically, to put it really corny, cheesy. You're supporting us and everything that we do. So we want to give a shout out to those generals and spice runners who are some of our top tiers on Patreon. So first of all, thank you, generals. Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Paul Olson, Jake Houchins, Oliver Lewis, Frank Grande, Haas, Joe Ritchie, Darth Hurricane, John Chorlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, and Val Trichkoff. Thank you guys so much as generals. I'm going to take another breath here. Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Double C Chris, Kendall Gelnar, Ryan Wara, Dave Hornack, and Micah Harrison. Thank you guys so much. We just had our Spice Run with Neil Shaw last week on Patreon, which was a live chat that we do with each one of our Spice Runners once a month. It's really fun. It's just a really good time to just like connect with people in the community and talk about Star Wars and just geek out a little bit. So if you're wanting to check that out, patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast.
And Lacey, if we can real quick, a special shout out to Micah's cat Loki, who
oh yes, I loved
apparently said he's a big fan of TRB. He actually had a photo of his cat watching TRB. So Micah and Loki. Yeah.
I really wish that people could see my reactions to their tweets. Like, I wish I had someone with me that could like record what my, because like I yelled when I saw that picture. I was like, oh my God, it's a cat. And I like yelled out loud. So it was adorable. Thank you for sharing that. And I honestly think that about all anytime someone tweets us about anything or Instagram or anything, shares on social about what they're listening to or something they found funny or interesting or, hey, I don't agree with this, I still get pumped. I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this segment lets us talk with our generals and spice runners. So this week we had General Jeremy Myers, who I know is going through a little bit of a tough time right now. I'm so sorry, Jeremy. I hope this was a little bit of a break of a fun moment for you, and we appreciate you doing this. So his question this week was, if you had the power to experience a Star Wars movie or episode of a Star Wars show again, without having any memory or knowledge of what happens in it, which would you choose to view again for the first time? Jeremy, take it away.
Hey, everyone. Honestly, to me, I think, I don't know, I've always been different here, and I've appreciated all the crazy feedback that you guys give me, and constructive and positive comments that come my way with all my off the wall things. But I'm gonna go with Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I think after watching it again, it kind of ties to a lot of the things that are happening in books and not the novels that we get now, and some of the comic line, and definitely some of the shows. We're getting more info that comes from that, and learning how and why. Just my personal opinion. I think maybe the movie itself was not great, but I think the storyline that comes from it is one that has fed some of this newer content. Not going past episode 9, but definitely some of the mainstream current timeline stuff that we've gone through. So that's all I got. Hope you're all well. General Jeremy out.
Awesome job, Jeremy. Thanks again for doing that. John, what did you think?
Caught me off guard, but Jeremy usually does in a good way. His answers usually make me think about them a little more than I would on an answer I would expect. So I think Revenge of the Sith is a great pick for the reasons you gave, Jeremy. You just laid it all out pretty well. So while Revenge of the Sith is certainly not one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and it probably wouldn't be my pick, I completely understand that pick, and you kind of opened my eyes to that as something to choose. So that's very cool that you chose that one, because it probably, if people had to make bets, I don't think people would have guessed that someone would say that. So
I didn't.
And you gave a great explanation for that. I hope you and the family are all right, buddy. Hope you guys are doing well, and obviously thanks for your continued support. Great answer. And yeah, sometimes we criticize your wild takes and stuff like that, but I love them just as much.
Sucks. That's usually what your takes are. And
yeah.
he
wanted to see him die in the theater and do it. Wasn't he the one who said he did a standing ovation or something when he died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
So
dare you?
Jeremy can bring the spice, and I appreciate that. But can't wait to hopefully see you next year, my man, and share beers like we did that last time. So General Jeremy out. John's comments out.
James?
No, just like as John was saying, it was an interesting pick, and I really like the perspective from coming at it, having never seen the movie and being able to see it again, like for the first time. That's really interesting. This question, so it was a good answer. This question did make me go off the rails a little bit. Not so much like what movie I would pick, but I did think if I could erase something and redo it, it would be really fun to rewatch the sequel trilogy 7, 8, and 9 back to back, having no experience of it, and watch it all as one 6-hour thing. And I just wonder what the perspective of by the time you get to that third movie and you're like, oh my God, it's Palpatine, versus having seen the trailer and all the speculation. In a weird way, sometimes when you do something for long enough, you kind of can see behind the curtain. And us being Star Wars fans and having to report on it and talk about it and speculate on it all the time, we've seen things from so many different angles that we kind of miss that whole go into the... It's more of like when we do the Rise of Skywalker competition, or guessing game, and we're all checking off the things we got right, almost like a bingo game or something. But it would be nice to just go in completely clean and watch the whole sequel trilogy as it was. But back to you, Jeremy. Great answer. And I too would love to be invited over to watch Revenge of the Sith, Men in Black style with you.
Jeremy, great answer. I think there's a lot of people in the TRB community, but also Star Wars in general, that love Revenge of the Sith, and that's their favorite, and they will stand by that. So I think that you're not alone in this, a lot of people would love to rewatch that.
Right.
Great answer. Again, I hope everything is well or gets better. The community's here for you. So if you ever need to just chat or geek out about Star Wars, we're ready for you. But now we're going to head back to John. John?
Yeah, so we only have a couple of minutes here. One thing I wanted to touch on briefly that we didn't really get into too much because there's not a lot to expand upon because a lot of it would involve kind of guessing, but the excitement over the announcement of a Disney Plus Day and a lot of trades and stuff are kind of stoking the flames that people aren't ready for this, what's about to come out and stuff like that. November 12th, Disney Plus Day, Bob Chapek is expected to take the Zoom stage or wherever they're going to do this and announce the new slate of shows and programming that's coming out for Disney Plus. That's obviously going to include Star Wars. So just want to maybe spend a couple of minutes on that. Before we get out of here, just briefly, like we're all obviously the three of us hoping that something is involving Han and Chewie on Disney Plus. Who knows if anything's in the works there? There've been a lot of rumors that have gone unfounded with that, and but there's obviously a lot of interest from the cast side of things and people like that. So we're always holding out hope on that. But what do you guys think in terms of Star Wars? Obviously, I think tempering expectations is the best way to go about it, but it still gets you. It's like that exciting feeling of when you're at the casino and you spin that roulette wheel. You don't know where it's going to land on, but you got your chips on something. And I always get excited at the idea of learning about new upcoming Star Wars stuff. So when you first heard about this Disney Plus Day, what was the first thing that popped in your head?
Well, this is the sad thing, is the first thing that popped in my head is like they're just going to give updates on Star Wars stuff and they're not going to announce anything new.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, they're going to give updates. But then like you want stuff that's new, but you don't want to, I don't know, like you said, put your expectations out there of like, oh, I hope they announce this, and this. But then you're like, oh, they're probably just going to give updates for the people that don't follow this stuff so closely.
Oh, yeah. You don't think they're going to announce anything new? I think they definitely are.
I think they might. I totally think they will. But I think they also, James is going to say no. But I think I'm in the middle of both of you. I think they're going to give a ton of updates on stuff that's already pending to remind people, hey, what's coming up next year. And I think they're going to maybe announce a couple new things.
Now, for me, I think you're on the right side, but it's Disney Plus and it's so wide that they're going to have so many other things that they're going to consider their big announcements.
Marvel and stuff, yeah.
No, not even that. I mean, like, we're really excited to bring a live action retelling of the Aristocats to Disney Plus. Like, we're all going to be like, who cares? None of that. I don't want any of this stuff. It's mostly going to be a bunch of children's programming and things that they're excited to share or whatever. Remember, too, they said November, and D23 is like at the same time. So
their D23 day, you're saying? Their fandom thing?
No, D23 is November 19th, and this was announced for November of this year.
But I think D23, it's not a full event, though. It's like a day, isn't it? It's like a day of something?
D23?
Oh, Destination D23. Interesting. So it's not the D23 event. It's Destination D23. It's like a different fan event. It's like a branch off. That's where I was getting confused.
I didn't know that. I thought it was D23. The event was in November 19th. Is that not true? It's called Destination D23?
It's Destination D23, and it's an event that will take place from November 19th through the 21st at Disney's Contemporary Resort at Walt Disney World.
Oh. Huh. I thought it was D23. Though it really doesn't.
It's a branch off. It's a smaller event. It's just a branch off.
That makes sense then, because that even furthered my confusion. I was like, I don't know what they would announce here that they wouldn't be turning around saying the same thing at their big event. But now that it's Destination D23, that kind of makes me think that maybe they're going to do all these announcements on Disney Plus Day, and then D23 will be like, let fans explore all the new announcements and things like that.
I think because it's called Disney Plus Day, it's not like an investor's call or anything like that. It's Disney Plus Day right before the holiday season where people are going to be buying stuff on Black Friday, leading up to Christmas, all the other holidays. Oh, they're going to announce
a lot of holiday movies and stuff, I bet.
They're trying to sell subscriptions to this, which people may buy for people as gifts, surprise people. Hey, we just got Disney Plus. Who knows? They want to sell people for the upcoming years of this programming. They're going to be in Q4. They probably want to end the year well.
Sure.
I think they definitely are going to be announcing stuff for those reasons.
I didn't say they weren't going to announce the stuff. You're saying they're definitely going to be announcing Star Wars stuff, and I think they have plenty of Star Wars stuff to reiterate and show us a new version of like, yeah, we're making announcements on Lando. We're making announcements on.
Oh, you'll get at least 2 new Star Wars
Acolyte,
series announced.
yeah.
That
2
day.
new Star Wars series announced?
Is that a bet, John?
Man.
That's what we call a book it.
Is that a pie bet, John?
Nope, no
No.
bet. That's a guarantee.
Yeah. Well, we're on the. I mean, look, I want you to win that because I think that would be
Yeah,
awesome.
right? Like, we want you to win.
But I saw this as Disney Plus Day, and everybody's like, "What's the Star Wars stuff?" And I was like, "Guys, no, it's gonna be, it's gonna be live action Aristocats."
That's the thing. I don't think
I'm
you
telling
say,
you.
"Oh, we're
It's
doing
just
a
Anna
Disney
Kendrick.
Plus day," and then people
Yes.
show up and they're like, "All right, here you go. Andor is coming out."
Yeah.
We're like, oh. All right.
Well, that's because they're going to remind us that Andor season 2 is ready
We
to
don't-
come out. We just went through this whole big adventure on the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And to tell you more about other things that we're doing, here's Josh Gad.
Oh, don't even. Yeah, again with that guy. But I imagine they announce on Disney Plus Day. They're like, we just want everybody to know that Alex Lawther is in Andor and not
Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's the big announcement.
That's the big announcement.
All right, that's all I got.
Can I ask a separate question that has nothing to do with Disney Plus Day?
It's an open chat, so sure.
Great. So my question is, how do you guys feel about Kira fighting Vader in the comics?
Lame.
Because I saw these images, people tweeted them to me, and I was just like, what?
You
And
want
then
my
you have
honest answer?
Chewie, Lando, and Leia being like, who is that? I knew her at one point. Crazy. And then Vader's like, you fight like someone I know, or something like that. I don't know. I don't really read it, but
My real answer is Vader would destroy Kira in 2 seconds.
do you think he's gonna kill her? Probably not. They're
No.
probably gonna not kill her.
No.
But to me, that was just bananas. That I was like, this is like, that's
I thought it
nuts.
was- yeah, it is
That is
nuts. I thought it
nuts.
was a little much.
Because
I
her
thought-
fighting Dryden Voss in Solo, you're like, she's so badass. She's so cool. And she's like
Yeah.
taking down the other guys. You're like, oh, she's on her own. She's a survivor. She's taken over. And then to see her fighting Vader, I was like, this is a whole nother level of like
That's what I mean, though.
connection. And what does this mean?
The
For
next
me-
issue, she like has a mirror and she fights Palpatine and deflects his lightning back at him. It's like let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I mean, I think it's pretty cool, actually. I didn't think it was bad, but I just thought
I
it
don't
was.
think it's bad. I just like
I think it's just crazy. Like, it's something I never would have considered as an option. And I know people were asking me, like, what do I think? And my literal reaction was, what? Oh my
Ron-
God.
Ron
And that's why I
Burgundy.
texted these guys.
like boy, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we've known for a long time that the comic books tend to shock, with that one panel that ends at the end or whatever. It's a
Yeah, yeah.
big surprise or whatever. To me, if you say Kira is fighting Darth Vader, it's not. And I'm not caught up on these comics, so I'm not reading them. Although I have the time right now, and I have been reading through some of the High
Sure.
Republic stuff again.
Sure.
But I'm gonna get to this, and my thoughts on it is that I don't think anybody believes that Kira would win that fight. I don't think
Right.
it's supposed to be that.
Right.
It's supposed to be that she was trained to be what she was by Dryden Voss, and Dryden Voss is a man.
Or Maul.
Or Maul. I thought that was the obvious thing because
Yeah.
Maul.
Well, I mean, as of now, that we
Oh,
know. I
right,
guess
what
we
we know
could
of.
kind of assume Maul too, but we don't really know how that story goes. But to
Sure.
me, when I'm watching Solo, I'm thinking she's learning all these techniques of how to control
Sure.
people. And when she had the opportunity to walk away from it,
Terracotta,
she
yeah.
chose to go down that. And that's because she's been in this life, for so long. So the thing is like, I think she's holding her ground as a very confident, person in the underground against someone who walks into the room and demands that it's, Captain Solo's mine. That's
I
mine.
agree.
Give him back. And she's like, no, sorry, this is my party. And she's trying to kind of hold her ground. And I think Vader, to some degree understands some of those politics in the same way that like he went and had a deal with Jabba the Hutt. He could obviously have just killed Jabba the Hutt, but Jabba the Hutt, who has
He's playing the game. Yeah.
who has no real physical ability
Threat.
to win a fight, his influence and his power is kind of what is strong there. So I think they're just trying to build her up from that angle. But
now John thought of a joke like 30 seconds ago, which is why I was shaking my head, James, while you were talking. Go ahead, John.
He just doesn't like when I try to give credence to something that in reality is just somebody trying to sell comic books.
He had this look on his face like, I'm about to say something, and that's why I was shaking my head.
No.
Go ahead, say it.
No, I'm good.
See, I told you, he has something to say. Now he's not saying it.
No, we're up on time. We got to get out of here. I want to thank everybody for listening and watching, being a part of TRB. We hope you enjoyed the episode, our takes on the news. Let us know what you think. There was a lot of stories that we covered here, so make sure you're going to StarWarsNewsNet.com to read up on all of your latest Star Wars news every morning as you eat your cereal. Let us know what cereal you eat. And if you don't eat cereal, you still can go to Star Wars Newsnet and get your Star Wars news. Make sure you do subscribe to the show, like Lacey said before, whether it's YouTube, or your preferred audio podcast app. Personally, I'm a Spotify fan. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. We haven't plugged our store in a while because I always forget the URL. What is it again?
ResistanceBroadcast.com.
Store.resistancebroadcast.com.
Yeah, go there and pick up some gear, including we still have some left of these Make Solo 2 Happen pins. Go get your pin, get it ready for your hoodie, which you can also buy there because fall's coming, folks. Back to school.
Get ready for Disney
time.
Plus Day. Wear it proudly.
Yeah, and hope and a prayer. All right, so that is pretty much it. James, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MyerTrunks, and as always, the Bad Batch.
Oh, that's it. You're done. You can sleep again.
You can find me sleeping through the night from Thursday to Friday morning.
And go back to past Friday and check out James's final for season 1, Bad Batch reaction show for the season finale. What a doozy it was. Lacey, where can people find you?
People can find me counting down the days. There's only 9 until August 25th when we get to see Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker again at Lacey Gillerin on Twitter and Instagram.
Very good. So kind of we teased it before, but we'll be back on Thursday as always, getting into a little bit deeper on the Taika Waititi thing, and is it the right time and place for him to step in to Star Wars in a big way? So we hope you enjoy your weeks, and we'll see you Thursday morning with another episode right here on TRB. See you around, kids.